Good day, dear friends. Let's move on to the most important news. On the Kursk direction, the Russian armed forces continue to defend against the attacks of Ukrainian troops, inflicting daily damage to their personnel and destroying tanks and other armored vehicles. The Ukrainian side is also suffering significant losses in multiple launch rocket systems, which are being targeted by Iskander missiles. In the Koronevsky district, Russian drone operators are successfully destroying Ukrainian armored vehicles and motor transport on the roads near the settlements of Snagosti and Komarovka. Despite significant losses in personnel and equipment, Ukrainian forces continue their efforts to breach deeper into the Russian defense. Several attacks by Ukraine were repelled in the areas of Olgovka and Matviivka. In the Suzhansky district, fighting is ongoing around the settlement of Borky. Frontline positions have been clarified near Kamyshevka, where Russian operational tactical aviation has carried out bombing strikes on Ukrainian positions in the forest zone. Fighting continues in the Mariivka area, and Russian drones are continuing to destroy Ukrainian equipment. In the Sumy region, operations continue to diminish the combat potential of Ukrainian forces. A strike was made against a Ukrainian multiple launch rocket system of American production in the area of Mogritsi. This is reportedly the third instance of such equipment being destroyed since the start of the Kursk operation. On the Pokrovsk-Kurakovo front, Russian troops are gradually advancing towards Kurakovo, a key transport hub for Ukraine in the area. Stormtroopers are engaged in fighting on the eastern outskirts of Ukrainian and are advancing towards Horniak, bypassing the fortified strongholds of Ukrainian forces. In the area of Novohrodovka, Ukrainian forces are trying to regain control over the southwestern outskirts of the city, including the use of heavy armored vehicles. The 57th Separate Motorized Infantry Brigade, which includes former prisoners, is involved in the counterattacks. In Selidov, the situation has shifted to a positional phase. Ukrainian troops have presumably moved sufficient forces to organize a sustainable defense. Russian units continue to fight in the area of Hohol Street and September 8th, with the lines of confrontation remaining unchanged. Recently, information has appeared in local residents' chats about the advance of Russian stormtroopers towards the central city hospital. Apparently, Russian scouts managed to approach this facility, but soon retreated. At the moment, the situation in this area of the city remains uncertain. Russian troops have managed to fully capture Lasovka and confirm the liberation of Dolanivka, where the Russian flag was raised. Relying on occupied positions, Russian forces began an offensive towards Ukrainian, aiming to bypass Ukrainian defensive lines from the south and cut off the remaining Ukrainian units in the city from supplies. Russian stormtroopers pushed Ukrainian forces out of Karl Marx Street and have taken hold of it, creating a foothold for further actions. Some sources report the beginning of the assault on Horniak, the last settlement before Kurakovka. However, it is currently impossible to confirm this information with objective control footage, while local residents' testimonies may be inaccurate and contradictory. In the east, Russian troops conducted a series of attacks towards Zelenoye Persha from Halytsinivka along Ivan Sarita Street. The results of these attacks are still unknown. Later, a video appeared online showing a Ukrainian landing on the southern outskirts of the village, where fighting is also ongoing. The information silence on the Krasnohorovka section has finally been broken. Footage appeared online showing a Russian flag on the building of the House of Culture in the private sector on the northwestern outskirts of the settlement, where Ukrainian forces had held positions for a long time. However, the situation for Ukrainian forces has significantly deteriorated following the successes of the Russian army in neighboring areas. It is reported that Ukrainian forces still maintain a presence in the area, being blockaded in certain buildings and basements. Russian troops are conducting a clearance of the private sector and are striving to eliminate the remaining centers of Ukrainian resistance, while Ukrainian forces may be holding a defense in the farm complex west of the private sector, using drones for supply deliveries. Further south, fighting continues in the Maximilianivka, Hryhorovka area, where Ukrainian forces are attempting to dislodge Russian units from the positions they occupy. On the Artemovsk direction, Russian troops continue their offensive along several sections of the front. Following a relative stabilization of the contact line, Russia has managed to significantly expand its control zone both near Chasov Yar and Klashivka, which has been made possible in part due to the redistribution of Ukrainian units to the Kursk direction. In the area of Bodanivka, Russian forces have advanced several kilometers westward and have established positions on the outskirts of Horihorovka. The capture of this locality promotes further offensives and the leveling of the front line along the Seversky Donbass Canal. Further south, Russian troops have completed the clearing of the eastern part of Kalinivka, Kalinina, and have secured its western outskirts, where fighting is currently ongoing. Control over about 70% of the settlement is now in Russian hands. Fierce battles are taking place for the village, as its liberation would open a route to Chasov Yar from the north. In Chasov Yar itself, fighting continues in the Oktyabrsky neighborhood, where Russian forces have already entrenched themselves on the first streets of the private sector and have recently captured a unit of Ukrainian fighters. Southeast of there, assault units of Russian forces have significantly expanded their control zone in the vicinity of Klishivka. The strategically important Height 215 has also come under Russian control, where battles had been ongoing for several months. This major stronghold and the adjacent wooded areas are under sustained control of Russian forces. Yesterday, there was objective confirmation of the presence of Russian forces directly in the territory of the Seversky Donbass Canal, approximately 3 kilometers southwest of Height 215, which became possible due to the retention of this elevation. So far, Ukraine has only recorded a single Russian soldier, but the fact of this advancement is significant for the future leveling of the front line along the canal at the boundary of Kurdyumivka. Andreevka. That's all for now, friends. We remind you that our channel condemns any violence and calls on all parties for immediate negotiations for a peaceful resolution of conflicts. Thank you for staying with us. Subscribe to our channel, like our posts, and we wish you all the best.